Okay, we are live. We are live. We are coming you live. Good evening, Zambia. Good evening, people. We are coming live from the heart of Lusaka City in California, in the building, USA. Thank you so much for joining us. It is always exciting to be in the midst of people that are concerned to make Zambia a better place. Just like we promised you yesterday, those of us that are following us on YouTube, those that are following us on Zoom, those that are following us live on Facebook, we did promise that we were going to bring a special guest today by the name of Macdonald Chipenzi, Mr. Macdonald Chipenzi, who has been in and out of the heart of civil society and elections in our country. And we have him today. And I'm also joined with my usual staffer, Madam Pumulos Tumbeko, Executive Director of Nangoma Foundation and the Global Human Rights Alliance. Mr. Macdonald Chipenzi, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Matomora, and good evening, this Richolo Cholo, who has kuomboka in Nangoma.
we are attacking the Tonga land very soon.
Hope you won't be like Corona who vaccinate you.
So I'll take it back to Madam Pumulo to also just say greetings to the people.
Thank you so much, guys. Welcome. Thank you to our loyal followers for following the page. We are here until August 16 or August 20. We will be reporting, we'll be featuring special guests, providing information, knowledge, and intel as we get ready to vote. Our goal here at Matomala TV is to provide information to ensure that we have a free and fair election. Guys, if you're just joining in, share this live broadcast. We have a very special guest, Mr. Macdonald Chipenzi. He is the expert on our electoral systems in Zambia. So he'll be sharing his experience and we'll be joining the line, asking you to join the line, type questions in the comment section, whatever you want to find out from him. So guys, we're excited and honored to have you, Mr. Chipenzi. Thank you very much, sir, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you so much. And we are going to start our meeting. We are starting our conversation with just asking Mr. Chipenzi to give, for those of you who are meeting Mr. Chipenzi for the first time, but I know that there are very few people. Mr. Chipenzi is a household name where elections in this country and civil society organizations are concerned. But just for those who do not know Mr. Macdonald Chipenzi, I'll give him 2 minutes just to give a brief, background on who, Mr. Macdonald Chipenzi is. But before we can do that, please just let us know where you are watching us from. Comment below, and share this live broadcast. So, who is Mr. Macdonald Chipenzi?
Well, he's a Zambian citizen from the Gwembe Valley. And he's a teacher by profession with a master's in civic education, a trained human rights defender, a trained election monitor, both locally and abroad, experienced in election monitoring and observation, both within and abroad, a renowned civic activist, a person who has presented a number of papers on democracy, human rights, civic space, and indeed the Constitution. A former FODEP director, a former spokesperson for the Grand Coalition on the Constitution, and the current chairperson of of NGOs, or the chairperson of the Council of NGOs in Zambia, executive director of the Governance, Election, Advocacy and Research Service, GEARS Initiative Zambia, and above all, a very ardent critic of the current government. I end there.
My God, that resume is very, very impressive. It's like, wow. Congratulations. I think we are dealing with, we have the right person on this show. Very, very impressive. You know, you should send me a copy of your resume. I can't even remember everything that you have said, but we know that you have a wealth of knowledge, especially in relating to elections. And you have told us that you have monitored elections outside Zambia. So your experience is not only limited to Zambia, but you are exposed. You are an international, you have international experience. So we are honored, and Matomola, you can pick it from there.
So thank you so much. Now, Mr. Chipenzi, we are having elections this year on 12 August. We are voting. You have observed elections for many years, and the Zambian people want to hear from minds like you on what's happening. It's like the country is on pause. They are trying to find out what is really taking place, because this year's election, is happening so unique and strange from other elections that we've had in our country. We saw that political parties, the UPND, the PF, they were banned to campaign in Lusaka and Copperbelt and other places. We also saw the banning of road shows and rallies. Now there's an issue of the funeral, okay? And all these things happening, people who are going to vote, electorates, they are wondering what's happening. Maybe you can just give us an overview of what is taking place in the electoral process. Can we trust ECZ? What is happening? Just that. People want to know.
Well, indeed, the 2021 general election was a unique one. And it's something that is a new normal, as people would put it, because this is the first time that you are holding elections under the dictate of the COVID-19. The calendar was disrupted, if you are aware. We are supposed to have our voter registration starting in May 2020, when they broke out. That was around March 2020. And because of that, you saw that ECZ had to push the registration exercise to September. But again, it could not do. In September, it had to be pushed to October to November. And that was time eaten or reduced in terms of other activities in the electoral process. Because of that, we had also the nominations of candidates, the requirements of 1,000 supporters were either to be brought into the car or indeed be done online. You saw that also ECZ was trying to come up with online registration, even when the law was not supporting that. We saw also that the commission came up with online verification of voters cards, which was also not supported by the law. So all those things were done to try and meet the lost time caused by COVID. Because when COVID broke out, I think no one was prepared for it. So there were a number of adjustments and adaptations. Equipment needed to be bought. Those that were ordered already, they had to stay on because flights were grounded. Okay, people are not supposed to go in and out of certain countries because of the COVID outbreak. So all those were challenges that affected the preparations of the elections. Now, the issue of trust is something that is difficult really to assume. Because even as we get into this election, the public confidence in the institutions of governance, inclusive of the Electoral Commission, have been very, very low. Okay, and the COVID has actually compounded that erosion of public confidence, because now the Commission has reduced the frequency of consultations. In the sense that they could not physically meet with stakeholders. And then the use of technology is not everyone is capable of using technology to engage. So it has become even more complicated to build consensus around issues of contention. If you recall, the issue of the nomination fees was a big issue, but could not be conclusively concluded because of the COVID issues. So ECZ had to proceed with the way they wanted to proceed. And consultations were limited to 2 hours, okay, not more than 2 hours. So you can't discuss, and this is where political parties felt they were being used as rubber stamps on a number of decisions that were being made by the Electoral Commission. Why? Is because the guidelines on COVID needed only 2 hours for a meeting and on a limited number of people. So it would be 50 or less. And you see some people, some organizations, some institutions felt left out. And then you had this issue of the guidelines, the electoral guidelines that came up, that were brought up by the committee that was set up by the Electoral Commission. And again, the issues there is the issue of composition. It is a committee that's dominated by government institutions. And all the guidelines, what they call standard operating procedures, some people feel that they were done to favor the ruling party, and more especially that at the time of nomination, the president did mention that he will ban campaigns if people don't want to listen. And immediately after that pronouncement, ECZ also came up and said, well, we are banning campaign rallies. So, and later on, we are banning road shows and limiting them to only one car because of COVID and also because of violence. And then the door-to-door would be allowed, but only limited to 3 people. All those issues are creating a lot of anxiety, suspicions, and a lot of speculations. So there will be need to build some kind of platforms that can help to restore confidence in the work of the Electoral Commission of Zambia from the stakeholders. Otherwise, suspicions continue to be part of our life. The enforcement of these laws and regulations and guidelines seem to be partial, favoring the party in power and disfavoring those that are in the opposition, especially the main opposition political party. I think that is the preamble on the first question that you have asked.
Oh, thank you so much, Comrade Chipenzi. I want also to raise this question that a lot of people have raised on the part of the ballot paper printing. Okay. A few days ago, we saw that the Electoral Commission of Zambia, they gave a guideline on what it takes for independent stakeholders to be part and parcel of the witnessing of the printing of ballot papers in Dubai. And they gave quite a lengthy, tedious process for one to be part and parcel of that. They said you have to provide them with air tickets, proof of the organization that is funding you, and that organization must provide the proof of where they are getting the funding. You must give them the clearance document from COVID. From there were a lot of procedures which I saw that common minds and organizations might fail. And when I refer to that, I look at what happened in 2016. It was different from the requirements that have been set now for people to go and witness the printing of ballot papers in Dubai. What is your take on that? The printing of ballot papers vis-a-vis the issue of civil society organizations and independent observers accompanying ECZ and government to witness. How do you look at that process?
Well, I think that is a controversial issue. As you recall that a number of people did indicate that they wanted ballot papers to be printed from within. But the ECZ said, well, we'll decide. And when they decided to go with the Al Ghurair of Dubai, meaning that they have to transport monitors, independent monitors to Dubai. And our argument was, and still is, Dubai is the most expensive destination in the world, all right? And to expect a common man like Macdonald, except if he's supported by the Queen, Pumulo, to go to Dubai and spend 30 days of monitoring is a huge sum of money, all right? And we said, now, if ECZ has decided to continue to prefer to go to Dubai, then it must meet the cost of the independent observers to go to Dubai. Because ballot printing is a very delicate process and requires transparency in the process. It requires independent monitors to be around and be able to give their own experiences. But ECZ was adamant, and they said they don't have the resources. Actually, even before the budget was out, ECZ was on record saying that there is no money to transport independent observers or civil society to Dubai. So it meant that ECZ was already determined that they will not support anyone to go to Dubai and monitor the printing process of the ballots. Now, the implication of that is that the ballot printing will be very suspicious, extremely suspicious and controversial. And when there is suspicion in the ballot printing, just like in the registration of voters, you undermine the credibility and the integrity of the electoral process and the outcome of the elections. So already you are courting controversy to the outcome of the elections. So if ECZ was to be clever, the best they would have done was to solicit for money and sponsor independent monitors. Because like it has put in its requirements, they want you to provide air tickets. How much is it from here to Dubai? A return ticket is a lot of money. If you are failing to find 1,000 kwacha, which is less than $100, how much dollars would you need to go to Dubai just for an air ticket? Here in Zambia, just to get a vaccination, to a COVID vaccination, you need to part away with 2,000 kwacha, at least 2,000 kwacha. And for you to find those vaccines, you need to go from hospital to hospital. So all those are complications to the electoral process. And the printing will be monitored by very few. And if you ask me to guess, it will be only ECZ that will go there because it is funded by government and some donors, and maybe one or two civil society organizations that will be supported by donors, and maybe the ruling party person to go there because they have the resources. These other 16, 15, or maybe let's say 14 candidates, they may have to struggle to go to send agents to Dubai to observe the printing of ballot paper. So, in a nutshell, the going to Dubai was a disservice to a number of electoral stakeholders. Our view was that if Zambia was not a safe place to print ballot papers, they would have gone to South Africa, because that's a place that we've been printing ballot papers for a long time. Until we left South Africa, we went to UK, and from UK we went to Dubai. Soon we'll hear that we have gone to Greenland. It's like we want to go to the North Pole. We are interested in getting to the Arctic region, if I have to bring my geography. So that is where the problem is likely to be. So what we need to see, maybe in the future, is that let's capacitate our printing companies so that they are able to bid, and especially for by-elections, so that we are able to, assess their capacity to print ballot papers for a general election like this one. It is very sad that a country that has been independent for 56, 7 years can't even print a ballot paper for a referendum, which is yes or no. Okay? You fail to print a ballot paper for a referendum of yes or no. You fail to print a ballot paper for a ward by-election. You have to go to Dubai and spend millions and millions of kwachas and dollars, denying young people of employment, taking away the much needed foreign exchange. I think that is a sad thing, and we must be ashamed of ourselves.
No, thank you so much, Comrade. Madam Pumuro, I want to ask you something. You are in the US, and in the US there, you witnessed the elections that ushered in Joe Biden in power. What was the atmosphere like? Okay, in relation to what Mr. Macdonald Chipenzi has talked about. You can just unmute your mic.
Yes. So atmosphere was similar to current atmosphere in Zambia because the pandemic was at its peak that time, and a lot of people, they wanted change. But that being said, Everyone was involved. All the citizens, they were involved. Everyone was speaking up, and everything was done locally, you know. So for me, all I can say is that we have seen that ECZ purged the old voters register, and that is illegal in itself. Here in the United States, you just go there. We just went and updated. We updated the voters registers. They sent, actually we had the option to vote from home because of the COVID. People opted to vote from home and mail in their ballot. But for me, all I can say that this election is rigged from the beginning. The signs are there of PF trying to rig this election, and they are working hand in hand with ECZ to rig this election because everything they are doing is not fair. Everything they are doing is in favor of PF. They purged the register, and then the numbers of voters was increased in their stronghold, you know, and the numbers for opposition voters was reduced. From there, they pick the most expensive destination in the world. Zambia is a poor country, a third world country. Children are eating 1 meal a day, but this government decided to spend, I don't know how many millions of dollars to just go print a paper. Why not print in Zambia or locally in Africa and save money, buy drugs in the hospital, you know? So, and then there's rumor that these companies who are printing these same things, they are companies for some of these PF officials. So it's business for them, business as usual. They have companies outside of the country enriching other people, employing other people, where our own youth do not have jobs.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, Mr. Chipenzi, you have seen this electoral process the way it is. What are some of the mistakes, errors, and things that are not satisfying you that the ECZ, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, are doing in this electoral process where campaigns have been, we are in a campaign period? So what are some of those mistakes or other flaws, or something that the ECZ, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, is doing that is not tallying, or that is not in line with the Electoral Process Act or the Constitution of Zambia, or that is not in line with what the people of Zambia want?
Well, there are a number of breaches of the law by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. And this is why you find that there have been a lot of litigations. This is the first election where ECZ has been dragged to court. Okay? Several issues have been taken to court, others are still in court. But of course, the court has been more or less like favoring the Electoral Commission of Zambia and not to disrupt perhaps the electoral process. And that's why you find that almost all the cases that have gone to court have not been successful. But there are a number of issues. For example, the ban of campaign rallies. Personally, I still feel that is an illegality because the law has not been changed, which says that political parties have the right to campaign freely. The issue of banning the media to cover political parties whose activities have been suspended for one reason or the other in those specified areas, we find it as an illegality and unconstitutional. Why we say so is because when you read Article 50 of our Constitution, it clearly gives mandate and the right, or bestows the right to the political parties and candidates to be covered, to access the media, especially during campaign period. Now, when you say the media should not cover PF or UPND because they have been suspended from carrying out activities, what do you take or do you make of Article 50 of our Constitution? ECZ has no mandate or power to suspend any provision of the Constitution. So undermining the Constitution by the Electoral Commission of Zambia is the worst dictatorial action of any institution of governance. And this impunity has got potential to create disorder in our country. The law continues to exist. A policy statement from an Electoral Commission of Zambia is not law and does not replace the existing law. What replaces the existing law is the amendment to the law. And so far, there have been no amendments to the Constitution to accommodate the effects of the COVID-19, for ECZ to act in the manner it is acting. What we expected was that before Parliament dissolved, ECZ should have proposed amendments to the law, especially regarding the campaigns, so that it accommodated the effects of COVID-19. Without that, the only avenue where, again, the ECZ would have had power to cancel and ban rallies was when, or is when, the country is in the state of public emergency. But there's no state of public emergency that has been declared in our country. So it is during that period where restrictions on assemblies, movements, expression can be made, but not again to postpone an election. Because I did monitor the elections in Egypt twice. And during that period I was in Egypt, the country up to now is still under the state of emergency. And what the state of emergency does is basically to give power to the military or defense force to manage or to police, to provide security to the electoral process, and not the police per se. So that is what the public emergency does. So we have not been in any of those. We have not amended the law. We have not been in the state of emergency. So we ask ourselves, where does the ECZ get the power to cancel rallies? Basically, what ECZ has done is to ban campaigns. Technically, it has banned campaigns. And it has also gagged the media without amending the law. So we find that there's impunity exhibited clearly by the manager and administrator of the electoral process in our country. And we have asked ourselves to say, but why is the police also, which is the law enforcer, would want to be so excited by enforcing a policy and not the law? Because the law does inform the police that the police have to give equal treatment to all candidates and political parties. And the law says that anyone who disrupts a law-convened meeting by a political party or a candidate has committed an offense and must be arrested and taken to court. How many of those that have been blocking other people from carrying out their campaigns have been arrested? Very few, if not none. So those are the concerns. Personally, I'm seeing in this electoral process leading to the August 12, 2021. It's a unique election, and it shall be a controversial election. And perhaps even the results will be controversial. So we must prepare our minds that the coming August 12 elections will have its own disadvantages and advantages. But at the end of the day, the elections must go ahead.
Okay, so I want to get Madam Pumulo's view on tribalism and political violence, which have characterized our campaigns. Tribalism, hate speech on tribal grounds exercised by political players, and also violence that has been the order of the day from the time that campaigns were officially opened. What is your take? And just after you speak, Mr. Macdonald Chipenzi, you also give us your view on the prevailing violence, hate speech on tribal grounds that is characterized our political space.
Thank you very much. So just to comment on that, today when I woke up in the morning, I saw a video of Dr. Kambwili talking at the funeral house of our late president, His Excellency David Kaunda. And Kambwili said that it is his mission to go around all the provinces and preach why, I don't know, he said something tribal. So I wrote a letter to him. You know, I am just sick and tired of these PF politicians calling us Tongas as tribalists. 2021 election is not about a tribe. We are already in this situation because we voted on tribal grounds. If we were to pull election results from 2011, 2016, from the east, from the west, we can see that all the voters were voting based on tribal grounds. But we don't hear certain people or people from the east, from southern or western, talking about why did the easterners vote for SATA and not vote for HH. So for me, what I'm saying is, like, let's move on. We are already learning a hard lesson from voting on tribal grounds. These PF leaders have no manifesto. They are using tribalism as their weapon, which they have always been using all these years. They have used tribalism to win an election, but Zambians have woken up and they have said, no, you are not going to use us to push you in government and then forget about us and use an innocent man, HH, as a weapon, as a tool for them to get in government. So I'm just appealing to you, PF, your days are gone. Zambians have woken up. They are not going to listen to your demonizing speech, hatred speech, hate speech of tribalism. Tongas are this and that. Me, I'm a Tonga. What have I done? It's a violation of human rights. Zambia is 56 years old. We should be above, talk beyond tribal lines. Here where I am in America, there are 350 million people from different parts of the world. 350 million. The town that is close to me is almost the population of Zambia, and they all live together, and they look at the quality, the substance of a leader. They don't look at a tribe. So that message of tribalism is divisive and is being used by selfish people who want to gain who want to retain power. And once they are in power, they are not doing anything for the government. I mean, they're not doing anything for the people. People are sleeping hungry. How much is the dollar? We have seen high inflation levels, highest So all I'm appealing is that Zambian people, let's continue looking at what a leader can do for us. Some of these leaders, PF, we have given them enough time, they will not do anything better for us. We are already seeing even the decision of printing ballot, they are going to the most expensive country on earth to print ballot papers when we have no medicine in hospitals. Really? So that is my take on tribalism. And then what is the second part? The second question was on violence. So the violence, what I can say on violence is that PF, this is a strategy for PF. They come and attack UPND cadres, and then they have a plan. After the attack is done, then that's even the reason why they canceled this election. It was a strategy. They planned it. They are taking people's children, paying them, maybe I don't know how much they are paying them to cause violence, and then they have everything is planned out. So we have to be very careful in opposition. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Before you come in with the issue of violence and tribalism, Mr. Chipenzi, there's a question from one of the people that are watching, and he is asking about the Mandevu incident, where there's a candidate, an aspiring candidate who died in the middle of an election. The person filed in a nomination, and she was put on the ballot. So what happens? What does the law say? What is the procedure when a candidate dies? There's that female Mandevu, aspiring MP, she died as an aspiring candidate. What happens in this case?
Well, Article 52, sub-article 6 of our Constitution guides the Electoral Commission of Zambia of what to do when a candidate resigns or a candidate dies or is disqualified. What is expected of the Commission is to call for fresh nominations for those respective wards, districts, or indeed constituencies. So we expect fresh nominations in Mandevu and other places, including Lusaka Central. If you remember, the candidate for Lusaka Central, one of the candidates who was validly nominated, Madam Charity Rumpa, withdrew her candidature, I think a week or so after nominations. That in itself called for cancellation of the Lusaka Central parliamentary election and holding of new fresh elections, fresh nominations, which then calls for the holding of elections within 30 days. Our appeal to the Electoral Commission of Zambia was that let these nominations be done before, within the period that will ensure that the elections are held on the 12th of August 2021, to avoid by-elections immediately after the elections, after the general elections, which are very expensive. And as we have stated, it will mean that those by-elections, ballot papers will be printed in Dubai. So imagine after printing ballot papers for the general election in Dubai, again, ECZ maybe a month or later, they'll have to hold a by-elections in those provinces or districts or constituencies where candidates would have had withdrawn or died and so on and so forth. So that's what the law says. Flesh nominations have to be held. And I think the ECZ today has issued that statement to say that they will go ahead to hold flesh nominations and the elections have been cancelled. For Lusaka Central, Mandevu, and Pulungu, I think, and other wards and district council elections that whose candidates have either withdrawn, died, or indeed resigned.
Okay, I think that is well noted. Now, your position on the violence and the tribal remarks, especially issued by people like Honorable Chimbakambui.
Well, I mean, we have a report, the Commission of Inquiry on voting patterns and electoral violence. And that report did recommend what should be done to individuals that are peddling political violence and also tribal and hate speech. And we have not the electoral code, but the Public Order Act. We have penal code that criminalizes such kind of speech. But you see in Zambia, as long as you are politically correct, and when we say politically correct, it means that you need to be aligned yourself to the ruling party. You can insult, you can defame the president, you can peddle hate speech. Instead of being arrested, you'll be given a chopper to fly from one province to another to go and peddle that kind of speech. You know, we need a leadership that will mean well and will mean genuinely that they hate tribalism, they hate nepotism, they hate speech, and not a leadership that thrives in rhetoric but supporting that kind of evil that has got potential to divide this country into particles. And these are people who shed crocodile tears when they go to Rwanda and see the genocide, the effects of genocide. They go there and shed tears, crocodile tears. They come here, they start giving people choppers to go and start spreading hate speech. Now, we've said, look, if someone goes there to say, this tribe doesn't know how to vote, this tribe is tribal, they vote regionally. What we are basically saying is that this person who is being accused of tribalism, the moment they go and reach that place where you have gone, you have actually armed those people to harm that person. Okay? So this is where violence starts from. Because when I'm already told that this person who is coming here, if he comes, please tell him that you are a tribalist. And my argument on the issues of voting pattern is that, look, there are some political parties that have made it a rule that they will never campaign in Southern Province, that they will never campaign in Western Province, that they will never campaign in Northwestern Province, because those people are always supportive of a certain candidate. Now, how do they expect to get votes if you have not gone there to campaign? I've asked some people to say, me, I'm from the Gwembe Valley. My own president, the current president now, if anyone can ask him, when was he last in Gwembe? Gwembe district. When was he last there? Perhaps since he was elected, he has never been to Gwembe district. The only district that he frequents in Southern Province is Siavonga because of the Kariba for tourism. It is Livingstone because of the Victoria Falls. So how do you get votes like that? I've also given a good example to say UPND in 2001, 2006, and 2011, they had thin presence in Northern Province, in Luapula Province, and the results showed that they never performed very well. They realized that if they don't go to these provinces, they will never get votes. Okay? It's a place where if you look at the 2011 elections and the results, the UPND was getting the total vote for the entire province after an election, like in Northern Province. It was about 2,000. Well, the PF was getting 200 plus. Okay? So I think they retreated and realized that they should go and recruit people from the north. And you saw when they recruited people from the north, how they jumped from 2,000 votes, the entire province, to somewhere about 50,000 in some instances, all right? 60,000, 70,000 in some instances. That is what politics is all about. You cannot neglect people to say, no, I'm not going there. But when they vote for people they know that they are tribal, I think that is myopic. That is myopic. If we want to build this country, let us go throughout the provinces and campaign. When we campaign, we may not win in the first election, but as we continue, we will make a grand entry. Who knew that today UPND will be as strong as PF in Lusaka? Who knew that UPND will be as strong as the PF in Copper Belt, or indeed Central Province, or indeed Northern Province in Mpulungu, Nakonde, Isoka? Who knew? No one. Everybody was saying, no, this party is for Southerners. But because they made a deliberate move to reach out to every corner of this country, today, we can talk about UPND in Prokoso, in Kaputa, in Mpulungu, in Mbala, in Nakonde, in Isoka, in Mafinga. They will know that they know about UPND. So this issue of tribal voting people are talking about is artificial and is politically made. Some people don't want to visit other provinces for their own reasons. They only visit when they know there's tourism, and they will confine themselves to Victoria Falls and Lake Kariba. But for us who know Lake Kariba, we are free to go to Mafinga and see what is happening in Mafinga and see the Mafinga Plateau. Thank you.
So much. That is well explained.
I also want to add on, Honorable Matomola, on that comment. So I just want to say that PF have been campaigning on tribal politics. They are paying people to defame our president HH, calling him a tribalist. We had Sia1 yesterday. He's saying that he was working with PF to defame HH so that HH does not come to State House. They are demonizing HH, and people have believed him in the past. This is an innocent man of God whom they are painting to be black. That is their PF agenda. They have no manifesto. Their manifesto is to try and destroy the image of a clean man, a credible man, an honest man. So Zambians have realized that PF have been, playing dirty politics on HH. That's why you see that they increase the number of voters in Eastern, in Northern, and in Wapula provinces. But guess what? The areas where they increase the number of voters on the voters registers, all those states have turned red. So in their own bedroom, people have woken up to say, we have been fooled. Enough is enough. We are not voting on tribal grounds. People have verified to say that HH is not a tribalist, but the actual tribalist is the people who are crying tribalism, every platform, flying around the country, calling someone a tribalist is wrong. Some of you are grown men and women. You cannot be doing this. You have to stop it. And I saw an interesting argument today online where they were saying, hey, Tongas are tribalist. People now, they were going in the archives, they were pulling records, Eastern Province, and it's showing that everyone in the Eastern Province voted for Satan, nobody voted for HH. Who is tribalist? Eh? Who is tribalist? It's these same people who are saying we are tribalist. It has to stop.
No, thank you so much. That is well explained. We are almost coming to the end of our broadcast. Thank you so much to those that have been just following us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are coming to the end of the program. What you are going to do, Mama, is you are going to read through the comments. One or two, just one or two comments, then we close.
So I'm what I have another call, another meeting at 22 hours. So may I be excused now?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chipenzi. We are done with the interview. Thank you so much for those that have watched. Thank you so much for those who have been following this broadcast. It has been nice being with you. Thank you so much, my leader. You responded on short notice. We really appreciate your information on the future of our country.
Thank you. God bless you. Queen Plumi, Comrade Tomora, God bless you. We'll link up again at some time.
Okay, so we just had our guest was left. We are coming to the end of our program. Maybe we can just read out the one or two comments from the people.
Hello.